What's up, guys? It's your boy obbldude. Today, we're going to be talking about when Entropia Universe becomes worth it to play. Um, and I thought that was kind of an interesting question to ask and to kind of talk about too. I feel like it's kind of different for uh, multiple different people, so I kind of wanted to just give kind of my 2 cents on the topic and was kind of curious on what you guys thought as well. But real quick, before we get started, because I completely forgot to depot everything from yesterday, I just want to do this real quick because we do have stuff in here. So we have 75.59 ped from the other run. So we'll basically just deduct that from our total from this run. We still got about 45 ped from the other day. So we're going to try to run through as much of this as possible. And we're at the same OLA that I was doing that 800 ped mining run at. Whoop. Um, so we're going to see if we can get some of that money back as well. So we'll do a quick drop here and let's get into this. So I know for me, when I first got started, it was pretty tough to get anything back. Like right at the very beginning, and even I don't know, for a few weeks at least, I felt like I was getting nothing back, and I had to keep kind of doing small deposits of like $5, $10, whatever. It was nothing crazy, um, but I had to keep like after each run, I was like almost had to re-depot again. So it was pretty tough at first, and I'm like, dang, like, does this game ever get worth it, or does it just stay this way? Like, how does this work? And then eventually, through playing the game, learning some stuff, kind of like anything else, um, I realized, you just got to grind it out, obviously. Now, I'll say when it comes to really any profession, I would say once you get to like level 10 in that profession, it definitely starts getting better and more worth it. And that's where the game, in my opinion, really gets started is level 10. Because you're getting bigger hits, you're actually able to kind of cycle through pet at that point, and especially for mining. Um, if you get to level 10 miner, I mean, you can pretty much use an F105 and get some, and be able to use it pretty well. I mean, you won't be maxed on it at that level, but I mean, it's still a lot better than like using all the TT stuff. So it's definitely a huge difference there. So I feel like for me, oops, I did not mean to drop right there. But I feel like for me, any profession really, once you get to level 10, that's where the game starts getting more worth it. You can cycle through pet, it becomes more fun, you can play for longer. And and it comes with like learning stuff too. So like the faster you learn, the more stuff you learn, the more kind of research that you can do, which I know for Entropia it's kind of tough. Like there's still, even today, a lot of minimal information when it comes to certain things. So it can be pretty tough there. Um, but basically for any one below level 10 or just getting started, the game definitely becomes more worth it. Once you learn, once you figure out how the game works and how to not just blow through ped, and then once you kind of like know how to not do that, and then like get to higher levels and even higher than 10, like basically the higher the levels you get to, the more worth it Entropia becomes basically. So like if you're at level 50, I mean, unless you're doing like crazy high risk stuff, you're probably doing pretty dang well. Overall, you probably, at that point, between how much time it takes to get there and how much money you probably had to spend to get to that point, you're probably sitting pretty decent. And just to get to level 10, where in my opinion Entropia starts becoming worth it, um, it takes a long time, depending on the way you go about doing it. Like I know for me, oops, I did not mean to do that. I know for me, I did straight up raw grinding in Entropia for the first, I want to say 4 months. And I think I was doing mostly hunting at the time. And after like 4 months of, I think it was like 2 months of hunting, almost 2 months of mining. So I think they were pretty close to each other. But I think once I got to level 10, and then I started trying to grind from level 10, and I didn't play like a whole lot either, but once I got to 10, I was like, damn, man, this is like gonna take a long time. And then once I found out about like buying skills from others and even being able to like grind out skills and then sell those skills, once I found that out, that's when I was looking at the game totally different, and I'm like, okay, this game might be kind of worth, because it was like a more realistic possible way of leveling up a little faster. So then from level 10 to where I am now, about 20 for both mining and hunting. I think hunting's a little lower than 20 actually. But um, when it comes to that, I was just like, so basically from level 10 to level 20, I um, I bought some skills to try to just make the progression go faster, because there was some items I wanted to use and I wanted to kind of get more ahead. I honestly wish I didn't do that now, because now knowing what I know, it would have been better just to grind out those earlier levels, because basically what you want to do, ideally, just as far as efficiency and time goes, I would say try to grind out naturally or organically just by playing up until like 20 or 30, and then start putting in the skill, buying skills and doing the skill implants, because realistically and honestly, there's no way you can get to max level just by playing the game. I mean, I feel like there's no way. Like, unless you're playing all day, every day, like grinding 12 hours a day, I just don't see that. Um, Mainly because once you get to like 40 to 50 from the research that I've done, because I haven't gotten there yet, but from what I've read and seen, once you get to like 40 or 50, the grind is so slow and you almost have to buy skills at that point if you want to keep progressing higher level. So I kind of wish I waited, but that's what I'm doing now. I haven't bought in skills in a wicked long time, but that always does help too. So, you know, if you'd rather kind of get more into the bare bones of the game and don't want to grind out those early levels, I would say doing a small depot, 20 bucks or something, buy some skills. Mining, I think I spent a hundred ped for to get to like from 10 to 20, I think 150 ped or something. Mining is super cheap to skill up with skill points, or at least it used to be. I don't know about now. I don't know how the market looks now, but I know it used to be, and it's so worth it. Like, if you want to get that quick jump, mining is definitely worth it, because it doesn't cost that much to do that. Now hunting, if you want to try to buy skills and skill up hunting that way, you're gonna spend way too much ped. I think when I went from 10 to whatever level I'm at, I think I'm close to 20, but I don't think I'm quite at 20. I swear, I think that was close to 1,000 ped. And I'm like, okay, that's so not worth it. Just for those lower levels. I mean, if I was higher, like if I was like a level 30, 40 hunter, then maybe it would make a little more sense. Um, but hunting is stupid expensive. Whether you're grinding it organically or just buying skills, hunting is super expensive to level up. But mining, even at level 0, you could probably spend 50 ped, get to level 10 for mining. So, and that's kind of why I like mining too. Just because it's easier to level up and it's easier to get a return as once you're leveled up, you know. Um, as long as I'm in a good area and I kind of know what I'm doing, I mean, it's very rare that I have like a 20 ped TT value loss. Usually it's about 5 or 10, maybe 15 at the highest. Um, but usually I'm getting most of it back, which is good. And I remember when I first started, like, I'd be lucky to even get anything back. But at the same time, too, at the very beginning, you're mining at, you know, starting areas, which is usually never a good idea. Um, and since your skills are so low and you don't even fully know what you're doing, you might be mining not in a not so good area. So it's kind of those little things. Um, but yeah, as far as in my opinion, when Entropia becomes worth it, it mainly, honestly, to be honest, it becomes worth it once you understand it enough to know what you're doing, regardless of what level you're at. Because, like, if I started, like, I don't know, doing something new, like from zero, I could probably skill that up pretty quickly now. And actually, I did do that a little bit ago, too. Uh, we'll get into that in another video when I start doing some hunting here soon, I think. But I kind of did that recently, and I got to level 10 in like 2 days, honestly. Um, so again, once you know like where to go, what to do, and all that, it's like, and even in the starting zones, you can get there pretty quick. But it's just knowing what you're doing and knowing how to try to skill up the best way you can. And I think they have made Entropia a little bit easier from when I started. Because I think when I was starting with laser rifles and stuff, so I think that was the first thing I got from the TT, I swear, it took me like days just to like gain a couple levels, I think. So I think it's a combination of getting better at it, and I think they've made the game a little bit easier to play, which is always a good thing too. But yeah, Entropia Universe, once you kind of know what you're doing, get your bearings, and hit level 10, the game gets better and better from there. And then from there, it's kind of like any other video game at that point. You don't really got to worry about depoting or having money anymore, as long as you're kind of doing the right thing. Now, I will say, another reason why I kind of lean towards mining more than hunting is I'm like similar in levels with my hunting and mining. Hunting's still a little lower because I do a lot more mining, so it is higher. But with hunting, if I go on a hunt, I mean, I'm losing probably half of what I'm going out with still. So I feel like with hunting too, like it takes a lot longer and a lot more work and effort and a lot more levels if you're a hunter before Entropia becomes worth it. So it really is dependent on like what you're doing as well as like for a profession or like what you do in the game. And you know, there's plenty of people out there that are sweating and, you know, doing all these other things that isn't really part of the main profession. So, you know, you have that too. And that becomes worth it because you're not really taking huge risk or, you know, having a huge overhead. You're kind of just trying to grind it out without having to put anything in it. So it is really kind of what you make of it, you know, when it comes to is Entropia worth it or when it becomes worth it. That's pretty much kind of up to your play style and you and the kind of way you look at the game overall. And I will say too, once you have that money to upgrade equipment, especially because that's like one of the biggest things is as you're leveling, upgrading that equipment. Once you start getting those upgrades in and you're using better stuff and it's just like getting easier and better, then you kind of start seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. But I would say if you want to bypass all the beginning grindy stuff and just want to kind of start getting to the good stuff, you could buy skills for like 50 to 100 ped. Get your skills, get to level 10 for mining specifically, because hunting I think it's a lot more, like close to 1,000 ped just to get to 10 I think. And even still, hunting at level 10, it's still, you still got a ways to go. Like unless like you're like at level 10 with hunting, you can start eco hunting, I will say. Like, for example, let's see if I have it on me. Yeah, the Z12 Barbella. At my current hunting level, I am completely maxed out at that. And if I oh, what are those things called? Shoot, I forget what they're called. I keep wanting to call them kobolds because they kind of look like kobolds from World of Warcraft, but they're kind of like the Dobby elf looking things. Um, Lower level, like level 4, level 5s of those. Oh yeah, I think they're like imps or something. Something imp or something, maybe? I don't know. I think they're imps. But anyway, if I take the Z12 and go for like level 4, level 5s of those, I will kill it as far as like what I went out with. Like if I go out with 20 ped, I might come back with 10, maybe 5 ped less, maybe 10 or 5 ped over, somewhere in between there. Kind of your typical stuff that I would see like if I was mining or something. Um, so I will say once you get to level 10, you can start doing the lower level eco stuff. And as long as you have like really low armor, you know, a really eco gun, which honestly this one is pretty decent, and especially if you oops, I did not want to equip that. Uh, but like, you know, and then if you, I mean, I don't think enhancers on this gun would be super worth it. I mean, maybe if you had a specific mob that you wanted to hunt super eco, you could do like a bunch of damage enhancers and you might be able to double up the damage and then do it that way. That's kind of more of a theory. I haven't tried that. Um, but I do know that gun uses very little ped and does a decent amount of damage for what it is. And that gun can kill level 4, level 5 imps like easily, or pretty easily. I will say, because of the fire rate and the damage, and the fact that those imps are usually in herds, if you have like 10 of them on you, you're probably not going to make it. Um, and then you might start losing a little ped even, because then you're wasting shots and you might not kill any of them. They might just all kill you instantly. So it all kind of depends. But I will say, overall, if you're at level 10 in any profession, you could find a way to make the game worth it. And of course, if you're not doing the main professions, that might be the best way to go because you're kind of finding worth no matter what, you know, whether it's not depositing anything and just trying to grind it out as free to play or as a flipper or seller or, you know, something, or just hanging out, you know, either way. So those are kind of my 2 cents on what makes Entropia worth it, or when Entropia becomes worth it, I should say. Um, it's all about skilling up, getting those levels, and then, of course, ultimately getting better equipment with those skills. Um, and again, I think if you can depot just 20 bucks in as a new player, if you want to kind of get a jump on things, that might be the moment that it starts becoming worth it right there. Because then you're kind of not as worried about things. Because 200 ped as a new player is like a lot of ped. Like, it'll take you some time to go through that. Um, so, like, that's not too bad. So, I would say the faster you can grind this game, the more worth it it becomes quicker, for sure. And, you know, one thing I will say, one thing I will say when it comes to when Entropia becomes worth it is, you know, just walking around, maybe collecting fruit and dung and things like that, and just exploring the worlds in the area. I would say even that, because I know for me, I didn't do that at first, but once I started kind of like going to different areas, I started exploring the areas where I was going for specific reasons. So like sometimes I'll be on a mining run like this, and then I'll be like, huh, I've never been down that way. Let's go down this way and see what's going on there. Which I almost did that in the last video too, but I think I'm gonna save that for another video for sure. But even just exploring and looking around and seeing what the world has to offer, I did not mean to drop right there. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on when Entropia becomes worth it. Pretty much once you get to level 10 in almost any profession, it starts getting way more worth it then. If you can depot a little bit of money but not a whole lot, that's really going to make it worth it. And then just the quicker you can grind it out, the better as well. And those three things coming together, I would say that's when Entropia becomes worth it. So, I mean, Entropia can become worth it very, very quickly, and depending on kind of your outlook of it, even instantly, Like, I know a few people, or a good amount of people, that came into this game just to kind of look around and just explore, like an MMO virtual space. And I know a couple people that play Second Life that came to check it out, because I think they were telling me, they were like, it's something similar to Second Life, right? And I'm like, kind of, but not really. So, but there's so many reasons to come in the game, to stay, and the more time you have in the game, the more worth it always becomes. And I think that's one important thing when it comes to Entropia, because as long as your experience is constantly getting better, as far as like when you skill up and upgrade equipment and things like that, as long as the time you put in, you're like, okay, this is getting like better and better each time, that's ultimately when it's going to be the most worth it, I think. That progression, and especially since you use such a hard game and there's kind of a little bit of a threshold to get in, or at least to get into getting higher levels with certain things. It becomes a lot more, the progression becomes a lot more worth it as well. So anyway, guys, that's my 2 cents on when Entropia becomes worth it. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below, because I'm sure everyone or anyone that plays EU, if you ask that question to anyone, I'm sure there's probably a different answer for everyone. It's not one of those things where it's like collectively it's like, oh, it's this one thing. I think when it comes to this question, I think literally every single person can have a different answer, and that's why I thought this question was kind of interesting to ask and interesting to talk about in a video. And I haven't done one of these topic videos in Entropia in a while either, so I thought it might be a interesting conversation that we could do and everything. So yeah, guys, let me know in the comments below, when Entropia became worth it for you. Was it your first global, or a Hoth, or did something crazy happen that you didn't expect and you were just like hooked? Kind of like, I don't like to compare Entropia to gambling, but it kind of is. But it's kind of like when like you start gambling for the first time and the house gives you a little bit of free money and you get like 100x win on like a couple bucks, and you're like, okay, and then from there you're just like putting in like, it's kind of like that in a way, I feel like, or at least similar to that. But yeah, let me know down below what y'all think. I think we only have 2 more probes left to drop here, so let's finish dropping these probes, and then we're gonna have to do a little mathematical deductions to try to figure out what we got this run. So this run, we started with 45 ped and probes, almost. It was like 4450, I think. So almost 45 ped and probes we started with. We had 7550 already in our inventory from the last run, because I completely forgot to put it back in storage, but I'll remember after this run. So we're gonna have to deduct like 7550 from whatever we have. But I mean, if we can pull 30 ped from this run, that would be pretty decent, and to be expected, honestly. It's hard to kind of gauge for me how well we're doing this run, because we have had a good amount of misses, but we have been getting a good amount of hits. Yeah. So it's going to be a tough call on this one, but we only have 1 drop left, so let's just get this dropped. We'll see how much we ended up with, which I think we're definitely at a loss on this one, probably like 10-15 ped, I would say. Hopefully no more than that. But we'll do our final deductions now. So we will equip this guy. And we will see what our total is. Okay. So let's see, 75, 50. So 25-ish, roughly 24 ped. That would be 100 and then 16. Okay. So I think, what did we come out with? So I think we ended up with, dang, almost 40 ped, I think. 35 to 40 ped. Because we had 75, 50. Now we got 116. So yeah, about 35, between 30 and 40 ped, we'll say, we got back. So we're probably looking at about a 15 to 10, 5 to 15 ped loss, roughly, give or take. That's the range. So not too bad, not a huge loss. We did lose a little, which is to be expected, especially since we had a really good run the last video. So um, but yeah, that's the video, guys. Let me know in the comments, uh, when did EU become worth it for you, or when do you think EU becomes worth it in general? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.